Land has been contaminated and damaged varying in size and significance for thousands of years. As of 2017, the EPA and its partners reported overseeing approximately 640,000 to 1,319,100 facilities to prevent releases into communities. A variety of intended, accidental, or naturally occurring activities and events can cause land contamination, such as manufacturing, mineral extraction, waste disposal, accidental spills, illegal dumping, leaking underground storage tanks, hurricanes, floods, pesticide use, fertilizer application, and more. According to the EPA, contaminated lands include sites contaminated by improper handling or disposal of toxic and hazardous materials and waste, sites where toxic materials have been deposited, sites where improper handling or accidents resulted in release of toxic or hazardous materials that are not waste. Nationally, there are thousands of contaminated sites, from abandoned buildings in inner cities to large areas contaminated with toxic materials from past industries or mining activities. One happens to be practically in my backyard, and I'm sure you can find a site near you. Fort City is a small town in western Pennsylvania right along the Allegheny River. The Fort City PPG facility opened in 1889, transforming from farm and swampland into a town that drew hundreds of immigrants looking for industrial work. The town is named after Captain John Ford, the founder of PPG. By 1923, 2 additional factories, a foundry and a machine shop, had been added in Fort City, stretching the plant a full mile. Through the 1950s, this plant was one of the largest of its kind. In 1993, the facility was closed and the site had been empty since the plant was torn down a year later. The unused space amounts to about 75 acres in town and about 200 acres across the river. For decades, PPG disposed of waste from its glassmaking plant to the company's waste site on the other side of the Allegheny River. That waste has contaminated the surrounding soil with heavy metals, including lead and arsenic, and causes the groundwater that seeps from the site to have high alkalinity and ammonia-like pH. In August 2015, the court found that PPG has been unlawfully discarding contaminated water into the Allegheny River for decades. That means they violated the Federal Clean Water Act and Pennsylvania's Clean Streams Law. A variety of health and environmental hazards can be an issue from contaminated lands. Some contaminated sites pose little risk because the level of contamination and the chance of exposure to toxic or hazardous contaminants is low. Exposing humans and the environment to hazardous chemicals that may be present on the other contaminated sites are the greater concern. These sites are carefully managed through containment or cleanup to prevent hazardous materials from causing harm both on and off-site. There are many ways the EPA contains the hazard of the contamination and finds ways to clean up and use the land.